Welcome to Talking Jets. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilot. I have Green Bean. How you doing there tonight, Green Bean?
Yeah, look, man, I'm really excited to get extra talking time with you tonight, Ryan. But I miss our buddy. He's not feeling well. I'm sad.
Yeah, Matt. We're hoping you feel better. Matt's going to be little subbing out today. It's going to be the Green Bean and Ryan Talking Jets panel tonight. Going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to hanging out with you, but hopefully Matt's feeling a little bit better. Right. Maybe we'll see him in the comments or something. I bet he hops in the chat at some point. But yeah, if you're on your way in, make sure you hit that like button. For every 25 likes we get, we're going to pick a qualifier for our t-shirt giveaway at the end of the stream. And then if you're watching this after the fact, all you have to do is leave a comment down below this video to get entered into next week's t-shirt giveaway. All right. With that out of the way, let's talk a little football here. The Jets are now sitting, love how it says 7-5 at the bye. That's not right. Update your graphics, Ryan.
Yep.
All right, there we go. Jets 7-5. Bam. Didn't update all my graphics for the two-person panel. Sorry. Green Bean, your thoughts on the loss to the Minnesota Vikings?
All right. Let me do my silver lining first, okay? Silver lining is if we were going to lose any games out of the last 6, this was the one to lose. And you can lump the Lions in there, right? Like this was the one. If you got to lose one, this was the one, all right? Another silver lining is, hey, man, I feel really good about some of the facets of this team that we got a chance to look at the last couple of weeks. It's real hard to evaluate wide receivers when your quarterback or whatever it is can't get them the ball. You know, whatever it is. I'm not throwing any stones. But we have not been able to see a lot the last 2 weeks going into our recent games. So it's nice to be able to see that and how talented people really are. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm grateful. That said, I am devastated by how we lost this game. Now, Ryan, look, we've been hanging out a few years now. We said, me, you, O'Leary, most of these people in the chat, we agreed. All we want is a team that is competitive, playing meaningful games in December, and when we lose, it's not embarrassing. We want to be in it, at the end. We want to be, respectable show. We just want a team that's competitive. We're here, and I'm fucking miserable, okay? So I don't know if I'm allowed to be happy. I don't know. I hated losing this game the way we lost it, Ryan. I loved so many pieces of it. Little things, little toe, one little pinky toe out of bounds. And if it's not there, we win. If Berrios, who's Mr. Clutch, man, like, look, Berrios isn't the fastest. He's not the biggest. He's not the strongest. He's not the most talented, but he's reliable. The ball was in his hands. He catches it, and he didn't. And then, you got Bam Knight 1 inch before the fucking goal line. It's like all this stuff, and it's maddening. Especially when I had no less than a dozen Vikings fans within an hour of the loss on my videos. Skull. It's like, all right, you know what I mean? How can you be proud of that one, you bastards? But, it's frustrating, Ryan. Now, look, I mean, all the things I said are very, very true. We're here. We're in December. We're in the mix. We have a good squad. We're young. We're talented. We're, clawing our way through the game where we don't give up for a second. It's all great. But damn, we should have won that game, man.
Dude, super frustrating. You touched on it because it's like, it's not a game that I felt, it wasn't do or die, but that was a game that you felt like we could have won. You have so many trips into the red zone. You only come away with field goals. Frustrating. I think I said it after my stream. I was like, I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. It's just like, really, like, it is the best game for us to lose because you're fighting till the very end with a top caliber team from the NFC. So it really is not going to factor in aside from the win-loss column, which is definitely scary. Like the Jets are just one game ahead of the Chargers and the Patriots, and it's not giving me the warm and fuzzies losing this game. So now we got to go into Buffalo and win a game. But yeah, this game, you mentioned it earlier with the receivers and the being able to grade those receivers. While Garrett Wilson is having like phenomenal stats with anyone not named Zach Wilson. Yeah. So week 1, the first few weeks with Flacco, 52 yards, 102 yards, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns in that stretch. Zach comes back, 41. So these are every one of these games is less than he had with Flacco. Steelers, 41 yards. Dolphins, 27 yards. Packers, 8 yards. Broncos, 24 yards. He did go off against the Patriots for 115 yards, and against the Bills, he had 92. So they did get him involved in those 2 weeks. And then he goes against the Patriots with Zach, his final game, 12 yards. And then immediately, as soon as Mike White steps in, granted the defenses are a little bit easier, you're seeing 95 yards and 162 yards in back-to-back games with 2 touchdowns total there. And it just feels like if Garrett Wilson doesn't have Zach Wilson as his quarterback for that stretch of time, he's probably talked about as Rookie of the Year. And I think at this point, if he goes on a run these last 5 games, he might be considered that anyway.
Yeah. He'd have, 1,700 yards or something. I mean, it's funny. I saw a stat today, Ryan, not that I remember this stuff, but I saw, the most rookie Jet receivers had is 𝐒𝐿∫, right? Like 840 or something like that, 844, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it was like 848 or 884, somewhere in
that.
Yeah,
something like that. Garrett Wilson is at, where is he right now?
798, I think. It was, or 799. It's like right below 800.
Yeah. If Zach doesn't come back, he's going to crush that. If he comes back and gets 20 yards a game, maybe he meets it. I don't know. But we're in that. We're in that category. Like, we have to remember something. Like, here we are complaining, like Jets fans, we're split down the middle. Zach should be starting. He would have scored. Oh, Mike White's clearly better. We got all these things going on. Oh, Mike LaFleur sucks. Oh, the defense, we should have this. We couldn't get off the field in the first half. Whatever it is, that all may be true. But the thing to remember for us is that we never get players like this, okay? The last time we had a rookie receiver that broke 800 yards, not 1,000, not 1,200, 800 yards was 1997. Before that, it was Wesley Walker, dude. Okay, that's when I was a child. All right, Wesley Walker was the wide receiver when I was in elementary school, everybody. All right? So, like, that's how infrequent what Garrett Wilson is doing really is for us. The fact that we had Breece Hall, who would have won Rookie of the Year had he, started every game and the whole thing, in my opinion, he goes down and we have an undrafted free agent that, I mean, he's so good. I'm like nervous he's going to get hurt. Like, that's where, but it's like, look at where these things all look at Quinnen Williams. The last time we had a guy like Quinnen Williams, Ryan, it was like maybe Chris Jenkins. I mean, and not even Muhammad Wilkerson, Sheldon Richardson, whatever they did for the 5 minutes that they did it, they were not Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams is a stud. You know what I mean? And it's like all of these things that we have, we're still finding it very difficult to focus on that and be psyched. We're only focused on the one negative thing. And it's just, as I look around at us, it's like, wow, we don't know how to do this. We don't know how to be.
We
happy.
suck.
We're thick, dude.
Fans are rough. It's because the expectations shifted, right? Like, if you're telling us, back by the draft, we're going to have arguably the best draft in our history, one of the best drafts that we've seen probably in NFL history, and we're going to be sitting at 7-5 at this point in the season, playing meaningful games in December. Sign me up, 100%. I don't care what the record ends up as. I want that as my reality. The Jets still have a realistic shot at the playoffs. And like you said, right. I mean, Garrett Wilson, he's probably going to get the receptions and he's probably going to get the yardage for rookie receivers. Like, he's going to blow it off the doors. I think 𝐒𝐿∫ did it in 14 games. He must have missed some games in there with some injury or something like that. Garrett Wilson's at 12 games right now. Is that right? I think it's 12 games. I think that math works out. So he's got 2 games to eclipse those in the same threshold of time, but also has so 𝐒𝐿∫ had 8 touchdowns. I thought Garrett Wilson was going to get that one. I was like, oh, if it wasn't for Zach, he would have had it. He's got 4 in 2 games. He's going to, it'd be cool if he got it. Like even if you have to go through like the end of the year, like you could almost see like what Garrett Wilson is without, you know, our backup quarterback in for 7 games.
Yeah.
Is that a weird way? Like at what point does Zach Wilson become the backup quarterback? And what point was Mike White the backup? Like was Mike White always the starter and just we had backup quarterbacks in the first bunch of games?
Right. There's an argument to be made, right? Hey man, we did this with our backup quarterbacks. We were 5-2. Backup quarterback.
The depth you were talking about. Bam Knight. Bam Knight is the reason we're gonna give up a 6th round pick instead of a 5th round pick for Robinson. This is pretty interesting to see because next year we're gonna roll in. It's gonna be Breece Hall, Michael Carter, Bam Knight, and this is gonna be a lethal running back room with those 3. Yeah. The weapons depth is incredible. What Joe Douglas has done here.
I got to say, though, I'm really I'd like to see Michael Carter get back sooner than later because I don't want to believe that he's a miss 4 or 5 games a year guy. Like that's because those are the guys that look, you, with all due respect, I've professed my love for Michael Carter on numerous occasions. I know I've done it here. But if he's a miss 4 or 5 games a year guy, those are the guys you let slide. You just, okay, well, availability, dude. That's what you need. As much as a guy is great, or he's your 3rd string back kind of a thing, and you play him, I don't know, 150 carries a year kind of a thing. And that kind of sucks because I believe in Michael Carter. I love him to death, man. Both his personality and his talent. I think he's legit. But like here we are again. He's injured again. I mean, thankfully,
I think you're looking at like he plays a position that I think is it's all right to miss a few games because you could plug someone else in and be, get a portion of that back. And while he is in, it's so impressive. I think that when it becomes interesting is, in 2 years when we come to contract time, what is he looking to get? I think that's what the Jets sort of saw too. You bring in Breece Hall, even though Michael Carter looked legit last year, you still understand he shared carries in college. He's at his best when he's got fresh legs. And I think it's smart to do that because it extends the career of both backs.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm a fan of it. I like it. I like it to a degree. I don't want to see guys like I really hate when LaFleur decides to abandon the run unless we're down by 2 or more scores. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like it. Like we're in a 3-point game and it's like we've all but abandoned the game. I'm sorry, the run. And I don't like that. Like when you look at the box score and you have 3 running backs with 4 carries each, like there's no way. Like none of them are going to succeed in that respect. Like if you're going to do 15 on one and 15 on the other, okay. You know what I mean? Okay. You got 30 rushing attempts and 15 is enough to give a running back that ability to get the sense of the game and kind of build up, a little, a feel like they need to get in the groove, man. Running backs in particular. I mean, it works for all positions, quarterbacks, offensive linemen, but running back in particular, they have to read how is my offensive line handling their defensive line? Are they getting penetration? Are they need to feel that. And then later in the game, they can kind of take over and utilize that. And if we're running guys 5 times, it just doesn't give them the opportunity to do it. And it's one of my bugaboos, but I'd like Michael Carter to be a part of that. And like you said, I think the committee, even if it's just 2 of them primarily, I think is going to elongate his career. But it was kind of committee-esque when he got hurt. Sucks, but I don't know, man. I don't want to believe that Michael Carter is going to be out 4 games a year. I just don't want that. So I'm hoping that he comes back, even though I'm really happy that we discovered this Bam Knight fella hanging out on our practice squad. I think if more teams knew what he was going to do, he wouldn't have been there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure. My brother was pounding down the door for Bam Knight like all offseason. He was just like, this is the guy. Look, you got to watch him. I was like, I'm watching him. I see him. He's good. I get it. We have Breece. We have Carter. Like, it's just a crowded room. Don't need him. It's just not about – it's like, glad we held on to him. Really glad we held on to him.
James. You can't put him on the practice squad anymore, Ryan.
No, definitely not.
Shit's over. That ship is
he'll get snatched up.
Totally.
James comes in, says, first time catching you guys live. Awesome. Thank you, James.
Hey, James.
Do you think this week's game is a must win? I think we match up great against the Bills. I think we won this game with 155 yards from our quarterback the first time. And I think if we get that same type of performance without them having Von Miller, I think we can get that type of victory again this time. Now, I do think the ceiling's a lot higher. I think they are getting some guys back on defense. I'm pretty sure they didn't have Tre'Davious White when we played last time. I don't know if he's playing right now, but I feel like that defense is probably in a better spot than it was the first time around. I do consider this one a must win. I think we had to win one of these 2 road games. That's why the Minnesota game really kind of is a kick in the balls, because I wanted that little buffer space, but this is the important one if you can get it.
I agree, dude. I feel the exact same way, and I'm glad you used the word buffer, because I said it earlier today. I said, not that it is, right? Like, it's NFC and the whole thing, and obviously head-to-head against a division rival is going to have that level of importance no matter what. But if we lost against Buffalo, having that win against the Vikings, at least as far as the overall record is concerned, really helps, man. And it's just a shame, because realistically, sweeping Buffalo this year, it's just the odds are stacked against us on numerous levels, man. Again, they're the Super Bowl favorites by most people, and they're still a good team. And one of the guys that they're getting back, and I think probably most important, is Matt Milano. I think dude, they missed him, and he's all over the place. He's one of those guys. And I think, beating Minnesota would have given us that just that little bit of breathing room, like going in and actually going into their house now with, a bunch of different players. Like, we have Mike White, not Zach Wilson. It's like they're different offensive linemen. It's like there's just a lot going on. Now, some of that might be an improvement. Maybe, I forget, was it Max Mitchell? No, it was Oboye who played tackle. So at least we have Fant coming in. I mean, he looked great.
We get Corey Davis back. We've got Bam Knight instead of Robinson. And Robinson was coming off a short week, if I'm not mistaken. Or was the short week the Patriot game the week before? I don't remember.
Yeah, well, he had that was his second game as a Jet. There's a lot of factors here, not least of which being it's in their house, and Buffalo fans are animals, and they're eating raw meat and shit and breaking their faces on glass, whatever.
Jumping through tables.
Whatever they think fandom is, up there. But yeah, dude, I think it's going to be hard, no matter how you slice it. And beating Minnesota, and in my opinion, we did more than enough to do that. We just choked. And that's what sucks. We just choked. But that's the thing, Ryan, one of the things that we talked about was, if you're going to lose games because you're a young team and you just can't figure out how to close it out, but you clearly see the talent, we all would have signed up for that. Like, think about this. If they would have said, all right, listen, you're going to hold Justin Jefferson under 50 yards. You're going to hold Cook to under 100, and you're going to hold Cousins under 200. Would you buy into that? You'd be like, fuck yeah.
That's a win.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. The Vikings just played like a full team game across the board. They're like, that bend but don't break defense was stout in the red zone. We had opportunities. You said it was a game of inches. The little toe tap out of bounds by Garrett Wilson, the shoelace tackle of Corey Davis, the just missed pass by Mike White to Garrett Wilson, the Barrios drop. Seriously, a game of inches here. Noseskills comes in, says, love the violence of our defense. I bet Jefferson dropping a ball or two and Cousins sailing a few was due to the hits they took. Yeah, 100%. Jefferson, we got the penalty on Whitehead, but because of where that penalty occurred and he caught the ball anyway for a first down, like half the distance to the goal, I'm actually okay with that type of penalty. Hey, I'm going to lay the wood on you right now, and it's not really going to impact the game plan that much, because you're getting an additional 5 yards instead of 15 yards and getting put into field goal range. And then the hit on Cousins, you saw him wince going off at halftime. And I think that's why you didn't see him throw quite so much in the second half. I think they tried to run clock and try to get out of that game. The Jets were beating them up. If we had any offensive success in the first half, Jets win that game.
Yep. Look, and even without that, though, Ryan, look, they had a 17-point second quarter. Other than that, they had 3 points and they had 7 points on the bookends, right? We held them to 7 points the second half. And we got it in the red zone. It's like we got it within the 5. Was it 3 or at least twice?
We had 8 plays inside the 10-yard line within like 3 minutes to end the game.
It's funny, like real quick. I reached out to Connor Hughes and I just like threw my idea about like, hey, this is what do you think about these last drives? And he wrote down he's like, what I think they should have did this. And it was like so in line with what we were saying. And, me and Jeremy, and I'm sure you and all the fans, like, why didn't we try? We're on the 1 inch line. Why no bam, no sneak, no naked bootleg with the tight end? Like, why none of that stuff? Like all these trickery bullshits. And it's just so funny, man. Like, I think 99% of people looking at that game have the pretty close to the exact same mindset. We're on the 1 inch line, pound it in their face, get in that to get the inch. And it's just amazing that we did. Now you can credit them, I guess. I don't want to. You know what I mean? I don't want to.
They held strong. I got to give them props. I think if the Jets, I felt like the Jets lost that game more than the Vikings won it. And I don't want to take credit away from the Vikings, but I feel like, aside from like the long pass to Hawkinson that they missed, because that was just wide open, blown coverage by Reed. I mean, I felt like they were just a really efficient, overall good team, but the Jets could have been better if it were not for like all these little teeny tiny things that like young teams do, or, just weird stuff happens. It is what it is. We got a 60-yard field goal though. That was cool.
Wow. Historic. Yeah.
Right? Kind of gets lost in this whole thing. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, look, people in the chat saying, we got to win 4 or 5 games. It's like 4 out of the 5. Like, do we really? I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, look, I want to make the playoffs. I do. And especially the way that the season started. And all, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm right with everybody. But it seems almost like we've turned this corner where if we're not an 11-win team, we're a failure now. And it's like, I do not agree. I don't feel that way. And it's like you said,
I feel like 10's the floor. 10's what I want. I don't want less than 10. If we get 9 wins, that feels like a disappointing season given the recalculation midway through.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. I would still be not happy, but I mean, look, 9 wins to me is like, I find it difficult to complain about that after the last 12 years. You know what I mean? I hear you, I do, but it's like, well, like you look at Garrett Wilson, you look at Breece Hall, and then Bam Knight, and just all the guys that we have, whether it's Quinnen, even Jermaine Johnson. I mean, and Sauce Gardner. How about that? Like, we have all these guys kind of coming into their own, and even on top of that, guys, one of the real places of weakness for us, since Jason Myers left, has been kicker. And I'm going to say this. I was all Pinheiro. You guys know. I was like, no, we should sign Pinheiro, man. We have a kicker. I'm gonna knock on wood. I can't do it. I'm damn it.
Shank.
I in my head, I'm like, you're gonna say it. You're not. Don't worry about it. I can't do it. I got to at least knock on wood, whatever that's worth. But dude, Zerline, we just watched, the longest field goal in our history, man. Like, think about that. I've been watching the Jets for 40 years. I've never seen that. There are guys been watching 15, 60. We've never seen that. So there are all kinds of things happening right now that are exceedingly positive. And I think, meaningful games in December piece is really important. Like, we can't forget that. I understand, like you said, there's a recalibration. Totally. The expectations did change. At the same time, if we come out of this with a winning record, miss or not the playoffs, I still think it's a success. As disappointing as it would be,
sure.
I think it really bodes well for what we're doing here.
I think we are set up at this point, regardless of what happens the rest of the way out, to be the most desirable destination for a quarterback, should we so choose to try and acquire one. I still want to get those wins. What's interesting about the Zuerlein thing and the 60-yard field goal, I think it's his second most impressive kick in the last 2 weeks. I feel like the 57-yarder in the rain that went like 15 yards above like the crossbar, that one I feel like was even more impressive than the record setter. But I digress. Radovan comes in, says, I think it's important that Zach be elevated to quarterback 2 unless he's completely lost the locker room. If he's not preparing as quarterback 2 during the week, it's worrisome. No, I disagree. I think until you're ready to pull Mike White as the starter, then Zach Wilson should be inactive and should be focusing on his mechanics and not on the game plan. Let Flacco be the backup. It kind of bodes well. The two of them are kind of like the similar quarterbacks in that respect. Get the ball out fast, more statuesque, can glide around the pocket. They're not going to be super, super mobile. I think you keep Zach inactive until you're bringing Zach fully on board as the starter. Your thoughts, Green Bean?
I know, I agree. I think if you have Zach active, like, look, I understand that whatever damaged childhoods, you guys that are still like, Zach, what of this, Zach, what of that, like whatever crazy fucking foundation you have for those ideas, I understand your love and your desire to see the young man succeed. I share the desire. But at this point, if you put the helmet on Zach and put him on the sideline, in the event Mike White does any, like in the first quarter, there's a whole chorus of, Zach should be, it's just, and that could even happen on the team. I agree with the way you said it. It's like, if you're ready, if you think Zach has had the moment, the removal has done, a really good job for his psyche and the whole thing, and you think he's ready, then okay. But until then, if you're riding with Mike White and, just ride with Mike White, dude, he has 2 consecutive 300-yard games. We can find excuses for that if you'd like, and that's including 5 drops and the Elijah Moore horse shit that he can't get his feet in bounds. This guy wants to trade. That's a whole different thing.
But so do you think
that's including all that? And Zach has never done that. Like, can we stop? You know what I mean? Right?
I would like to see ownership or not ownership. I would like to see Saleh come out and say Mike White is the quarterback for the rest of the season. And I think it's going to happen after the Buffalo game. If we play well in the Buffalo game, even if it's in a loss, if it's a win, I think it definitely gets said. But I think it'll be, hey, we're sticking with Mike White the rest of the year. Or do you think they try to like hide it? I feel like the support in Mike White at this point in the season, or even if he says, we're going to play Mike White until we're mathematically eliminated. I think that's, I think he gives us the best chance to win, but we want to develop Zach.
Yeah, look, why wouldn't you want to develop Zach? I mean, number one, you're locked into him for a couple more years, or else you got to pay $20 million to not even have a guy on your team or whatever. You have a kid, you use a number 2 pick on him. He's clearly talented. You know what I mean? He's got traits that not everybody possesses. But, in my opinion, I think he lost large factions of the team this year. And I think that was at least partially behind the motivation to make the switch. So I'm with you, man. It's like, if there's anything on the line at this point, it's got to be Mike White, unless he completely self-destructs in Buffalo, like goes back to the 5 interception thing and whatever. Then you have a conversation. Until that happens, man, dude, Mike White, he's laying the ball in there and like the touch on so many of his passes is impressive. Like, can we just, as Jets fans, just take a second and look at that? Like, is he perfect? No. Am I ready to anoint him the long-term safe? No, I'm not. But for right now, hell yeah, the team's playing for him. There's so much going on around him, and he has shown he can have a dip now. In the first quarter, like, it looked really bad. It looked, they were off, and they came back and they had a fantastic second half outside of, not getting in the end zone. But I think, I think the idea of bringing, I forget the initial question, but, if it's like putting Zach up there right now, and causing any issue outside of Mike White self-destructing, I think would be a mistake.
Nose Kills comes in and says, with Zach as quarterback, I'm wishing for trick plays. With Mike White as quarterback, trick plays frustrate me. Tells me how much better Mike White has been executing the base offense. Yeah, I completely agree. I get frustrated when I see some of these end around plays. I feel like we do a little bit too much behind the line of scrimmage, because I feel like with the run plays and with the pass plays, we're constantly moving forward, even if it's 2 or 3 yards at a clip. So to have a play start in the backfield, or going like sideline to sideline, is a little bit frustrating to see. I don't feel like we need to have that quite so much, although that's where you get like the 10-yard, nice runs up the sideline and everything. So I don't know. Do you feel sort of similar to Nose Kills here, Green Bean? The trick plays with Zach didn't felt almost necessary, where Mike White, you kind of just want to see him operate the offense.
Yeah, I like how Nose Kills put it too. It's like, I think that's very apropos. Now I don't know if I'm all the way there, but yeah, man, it's like with the trick plays, like I think Mike White is running the offense in a way, while imperfect, it seems like the trick plays are causing a change in momentum. Where with Zach, it almost seemed like we needed some of that stuff to kind of spark it, because just normal plays, he just wasn't able to do it, and look, man, like, again, like, this isn't me. And I need to say, it's crazy that I need to say this so much, but I am not anti-Zach. I wanted nothing more than this kid to be the guy. I want him to be the best quarterback in the world. I want to justify the pick and the whole thing. But if we're just looking with our eyes and we leave our emotions in a box in the car, you can clearly see that there's a difference, you know what I mean? Like, in how everything is going. And like, somebody said, like, I think Jets Forever is saying, well, you give Zach 60 passes and we'll see. Well, we would, but he can't get a first down, dude. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, we don't get 60 passes.
Yeah,
we don't get 60 plays.
Dude. Right. So, and that's not to say every game. The sad part about it is, a few weeks ago, Zach had a 300-yard game. He had his first 300-yard game, 355, I think it was. But what came with that? 3 picks. You know what I mean? That's the difference, man. The only pick that we had, outside of the last play of the game, the desperation kind of thing, the only pick was off Corey Davis's chest. You know what I mean? Like, so while it was, I said it a million times, it wasn't a great pass. It was a bad pass. It's kind of that luck, boing, and it shoots up into the air and all that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. Other than that, like, Mike White has been safe with the ball, where Zach, sometimes I question it. So yeah, like the trick play thing, sometimes, sad to say, almost seems like it's needed to provide that spark, like shake it up. And, where Mike White, no, just run the offense, I was aggravated by the trick plays. So I think overall, I might agree with Nose Kills.
Sky C, I'm going to jump you to the front of the line. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. He says, hi, Ryan and Green Bean. It seems the playbook is more open for Mike White. Was LaFleur holding back with Zach Wilson? I literally feel comfortable watching Mike White play where I felt nervous watching Zach Wilson play. Imagine Mike White with AVT and Brees. I think my opinion on how we handle the 2023 quarterback situation is going to hinge on these next few games, because as it sits right now, because of these last 2 with Mike White, I would prefer to roll into the season with Mike White as our baseline Jimmy G kind of level guy that knows the offense, the team's clicking with him. You have your Zach Wilson sitting behind him. He's got to try and overtake him. And then you add, a guy in the 3rd or 4th round, someone that's got some upside but isn't really threatening because he's a mid-round pick, and you got to say, hey, we need a backup anyway, in the event that maybe Mike White only signs a 1-year deal or something, like a prove-it deal. I think there's ways you could spin it. I just it's fascinating to watch. I really do feel comfortable. I sort of went in a roundabout fashion here, but I really like Mike White. Like, it feels comfortable. I don't get the anxiety that I get with Zach. Do you feel that?
I do. I wish I didn't, but I do. And I think the way that Sky C said it, it's like we're hearing that. I was asked that exact question no less than 10 times during the game. We do the live streams, as you know, and I was asked that question at least 10 times, from the game stream to now, probably more. Like, it looks like the playbook is open, like it's a different offense. Like, let's be real here. Do we honestly believe that LaFleur is designing the plays so Zach fails? Like, is that what we're insinuating? That he wants Mike White to be successful where he doesn't? I find that very difficult to believe. And imagine if Joe Douglas caught wind of that, he'd fucking punch him right in the face. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I used the number 2 pick on this kid. You make it work, man. So I just, like, that's the thing. Like, look, we can talk conspiratorial all day. I can chop it up with the best of you on that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the way I look at these things is, okay, so what are we saying with a comment like that? And it's like, is Mike LaFleur, is he hamstringing Zach? I don't think so. And TJ Decker said it in here, a comment that kind of ties in with this. I think it's probably more to do with Mike White executing the plays that are in there, rather than LaFleur holding Zach back in some way.
Completely agree there. Ablab, brother, jumping you up front too. Thank you so much for that. He goes, "Hey fellas, Joe Douglas won't ever waste an asset. No need to worry. He will play for us again as far as this year. Only if Mike White gets injured. Rooting for him to turn it around. Love you guys." Thanks, Ablab. All right, so what he's saying is Joe Douglas isn't going to waste an asset. I completely agree. I completely agree. He's the number 2 overall pick. He's not just going to let that completely fizzle out. And I think if you have Mike White and Zach compete next year, you still open the door to that number 2 overall pick still being the guy at some point. I don't think Mike White on a prove-it deal next year necessarily impedes that. And then I would also say you give an opportunity for Zach to rebound, and then maybe you trade Zach. Maybe Zach becomes a tradable commodity if Mike White is the guy. And then, if not, then maybe you had drafted a mid-round quarterback as well. But I do think this isn't the end for Zach Wilson. I think he's squarely in the conversation, but I just don't think they're going to rely on him to start next year. And I think they might be interested in having Mike White be their, starter for next year. What do you think?
Well, number one, I agree. I don't think Joe Douglas is going to waste an asset, period. But when we're talking about Zach Wilson in particular, like this was, and I've said this, I need to make sure that we understand the magnitude of that asset. We have not had an as bad as the Jets have been, Ryan. All right. It seems like we've been the worst team in the league for fucking 30 years. That's not the case. We have not had a pick that has been as high or higher as the 2nd overall pick since 1997, 97 when Bill Parcells had it. We picked Keyshawn with the number 1 overall pick the year before. So we had 2 years with the number 1 overall pick. Since then, we have never been that high in the draft. So we've only been as high as 3rd worst team in the league. So the fact that this asset was used on Zach, dude, and they have him for 2 more years at minimum. Right? They have him. I believe that no matter what happens this year, they're going to do everything they can to try to see him turn it around and succeed. The scary part for me, and this will take some onus off of Zach, I'm not the most confident in Rob Calabrese and Mike LaFleur to develop him. I mean, what have they done? You know what I mean? As far as that, so I think Mike LaFleur has shown he's got an offensive mind that's pretty good. Right, he's got a pretty good offensive mind. Some of his choices are confusing the shit out of me. I don't like empty backfields on 3rd so consistently. All those kind of trick plays in the red zone. I don't like a lot of that choice. But he's clearly a talented offensive mind, right? But as far as him developing a quarterback, I mean, I don't see it. You know what I mean? You could say maybe Mike White. So there's that. But he also had 3 years in the NFL without LaFleur. So I don't know, man. I think that no matter what, they're going to try real hard to get the Zach pick to be a good pick, in my opinion. And I love you too, Ablab.
That reptile guy says, With Week 18 versus Miami to be determined, do you think that will be flexed so we finally get a Monday Night Football game? I don't think they do Monday Night Football the last week of the season. I think it all ends on Sunday. Is that right, Green Bean, or do they do Monday night? I know Thursday night stops before then.
Be flex. I don't know.
It
I
could
hope
be flexed
not.
to Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I mean, truth is, reptile guy, I'm not sure. Admittedly, I don't even look into that stuff because I hate it. Like, I love 1:00 football on Sunday. I do. I love it. So it's like, maybe I'm resisting because I don't want it. I don't know. But my focus isn't there. I just kind of listen to what everybody goes, oh, we're flexed. Okay, we're flexed. So I'm not really sure. I'm the wrong person to ask.
The pessimist in me is saying that game is going to come down to a win and get in, and the Jets are going to lose it in the final week of the season, and I'm just going to cry, and that's what's going to happen. I'm going to be pessimistic, and I don't want that to happen. That's why the Minnesota game was so important, because I don't want to have to rely on that last game of the season.
Or the Pats games. The fact that they swept us, man.
Yeah,
2 yards,
dude.
3 points, 77 yards in the air. Like, come on, dude. Why isn't everybody pissed about that? Come on. Fucking break. I hate it.
Dude, it's frustrating.
Oh, it's frustrating.
What it is.
Yeah.
Hennessy comes in, says Mike White might have turned into Willie Beeman and changed the play calls in the huddle any given Sunday. I would love Mike White to kind of be the guy that just knows the offense. Like, how much credit should we give LaFleur for possibly developing Mike White if Mike White winds up being the guy? Like are we damning Zach more than we're damning LaFleur at that point?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again? I was dealing
I'm just saying, like, we were saying how, like, there's some concern over how LaFleur might be grooming the quarterback, Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
If he grew, like, do we give him credit for Mike White?
Well, that's kind of what I was saying before. Like, I think the thing is that, number one, Mike White has been in the league for a little while, right? He was drafted by Dallas, and say what you want about Jerry Jones or Dallas or whatever, they've done a pretty good job with quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Guys that come off the bench for them seem to be good. I mean, it's like, I don't know why, or if they're just stepping in shit. I don't know what it is. But the fact that Mike White was down there for a little bit, that could have helped too. And I think just being a vet, being a fifth-year vet in the NFL probably helps as well. But he's been here for 3 years. So, he was here with Gase, right? Wasn't he here with Gase? I think he was. Correct me if I'm wrong. But either way, he's been here the whole time with LaFleur. So I guess they could get some credit for it, right? I mean, you can't just remove it, I just think that Zach this is his first NFL experience. I have quite a few, examples of choices that this staff has made early on that I really didn't like. Just the ways that they've done it. So they're like learning on the job, right? And we know that. So Zach being in the room with Calabrese, who's never done this before, and he was a quality control coach before he came here to be the quarterback coach. And Mike LaFleur, who's probably consumed with the offense. I don't know how well they're doing maybe with just him, like the fact that he is just a young out of the box guy, first NFL experience, the whole thing. Maybe Mike White is just taking to it better. He doesn't need quite as much. No matter how you slice it, I think they should get some credit for White, of course. But I don't know. I mean, look, and maybe they're doing a great job and Zach just sucks. I mean, I don't know. But I have concerns about the ability of Mike LaFleur and Calabrese to develop a young quarterback at this point.
Egerton says, we can beat Buffalo if we control their run game. Yeah, keep Josh Allen in the pocket. I don't want him running wild on us. Mr. Downtown says, why bring in John Beck? Zach Wilson hasn't learned from him. Yeah, I mean, it felt like John Beck, was a good ad halfway through last season. It felt like that made sense at least. Now, I don't know if that's ultimately, good or bad. Like, I guess you don't want to keep pulling his quarterback coach. You want to find someone. Maybe Kurt Warner will come in and
Did
be
we
that
bring
guy
him
for
in?
us.
Did we bring Beck back?
I don't think we did. I think he's just talking about it. I haven't seen it, at least.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard that. Like, why did we bring him back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Listen, they brought John Beck in last year, like mid-year, and Zach had that really solid second portion of the season, that later 5 or 6 games where he removed turnovers, he looked calm, so his footwork was better, everything was better, so I would say it had an impact. But we also had Kavanaugh in here. Like, there was a lot, it was a lot different last year. And I know, like, they said that they preferred less voices in the room to maybe alleviate confusion, but I don't know. I think a couple more voices that know some shit might be helpful.
Anthony V says, for Green Bean, what stat line for Mike White in Buffalo will cause you to announce that they need to return to Zach Wilson? Ooh.
Well, let me say this. Number one, Anthony, with all respect to Anthony, of course, he's on the Zach should be playing side. So we need to know this is he's trying to set me up for the uppercut. That's what he's trying to do, right? He's trying to get me. But what I can say is this. If it's anything like the last 2 games, I think it's a rousing success. If Mike White goes out there and throws for 77 yards and 2 yards in the second half, maybe we have a conversation like that. I think it would take numerous turnovers and not even so much the stats, Anthony. I think it's like how he looks. Does he look frazzled? Is he scared? Happy feet? Is he in the face of pressure running backwards for 15 yards? Like shit. If he's doing that, then that's cause for concern. If he loses, it's a different story. I just think it's more about not necessarily the numbers alone. I think it would be turnovers, and like if he looks completely overwhelmed and frazzled, then there's cause. Other than that, man, it would take a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know what his stat line would have to be, but it would have to be really, really bad for me to move off of him, I think. Andrew Yale says, important games now make this young team better. Yeah, when there's like a playoff atmosphere around games, see how guys respond. We've been good in the second half of games. If we could start off a little bit quicker, it tells me that in the tail end of this season, I think we'll keep fighting harder and harder. Like, I don't think this doesn't feel like a team that's going to give up. We're too young and too hungry. So it's definitely going to make this team better. Dax Milne's mom comes in, says, what does White need to do the rest of the year for the team to bring in a Lock or Minshew type to compete for the job versus Jimmy Garoppolo, who would be given the starting job? I like this question a lot. This is something I wanted to get into. So for me, I think if White has games that are like, right, like high 100s, low 200s, a passing touchdown, an interception, from here on out, like let's say he kind of comes back down to earth, then I think you bring in, a real competitor like a Jimmy G, and you just don't even kind of screw around with it. Like it depends how the locker room feels about White too. Like if they still have confidence in him, I think that plays a factor. Right now, if he stays on track for what he's been doing, even if it's like, mid 200s, somewhere in there, and he gets us to the playoffs, even if we lose a game in the playoffs, I would bring him back as the low cost option instead of going for Jimmy G. Like I would say White's floor might be lower than Jimmy G's floor, but his cost is going to be so much lower, and the team chemistry just works so well. And you have your young number 2 overall quarterback sitting behind him that I think you could flip Zach in front of him. If you bring in Jimmy Garoppolo, you're going to be paying so much money. You're going to have to, to pull him is a little more jarring. Not to mention, I don't know if Joe Douglas wants to spend a crazy ton of money, which is what Jimmy Garoppolo might get you, and you might not get a full healthy season out of him. With Lock and Minshew, I don't know. I don't know if I said I would love to see Minshew versus White in a quarterback battle, but I don't know what that means for Zach then. I think that kind of like slams the door shut on him. I don't know. Greeny, what do you think about this?
Number one, let me say this about Jimmy G. I was in favor of that consideration, like, assuming we're looking for that, right? Just for conversation's sake. But I got to tell you, man, Jimmy G gets hurt a lot. He's hurt now. Like, so how much do you really want, like, knowing that going in, do you want to believe that trend is going to somehow change? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to pay him, $30 million, whatever the hell it is. And then you're going to, just kind of hope. So I'm not loving the Jimmy G idea, especially because he's a very good quarterback, but he's certainly not, Peyton Manning in his prime or anything like that. So that concerns me. I like what you said about, like, look, let's say Mike White, we win enough, we win 10 games, we go to the playoffs, he loses, whatever, win, lose, draw. But he does it. He does enough. I want to see him back. Like, I want to see him back. There's no reason to kind of overturn the apple cart and go, yeah, it worked, but we're going to start fresh. Now, whether that's to compete for the job or if they want to make him a starter, I don't know. But I agree with you. I think he's going to be, no matter how you slice it, he's going to be significantly less than maybe, like if you're courting Lamar Jackson or, even Jimmy G or, some of these guys. Like Mike White's going to be a $10 million a year guy as opposed to a $30 million a year guy. So I think there's a lot of wisdom there. Now, bringing in Minshew, yeah, like I think Minshew with this offense would be something. I really do. I think he could run. There's more than enough talent for him to do what he does and be very successful. Now, he's got his warts too, but I think having a legitimate competition would be exciting. And at the same time, you also mentioned you don't want to just forget Zach's here. So, like, what does that do? Now, bringing in a Minshew, and having Mike White and Zach and say, have at it, boys. Best man wins. I'm into that too. And whoever doesn't, shut your fucking pie hole and don't cry on the sideline and be a distraction. Whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do that, I'm into it, man. Like, and if it all fails, then you go back to the drawing board and you get yourself a fresh new quarterback. That said, one more thing. If there are cars out there, I watch the whole thing and I go get them.
I agree. New York Jets fan forever says John Beck is back with the Jets to help Zach. I did not know that.
What was that?
I definitely missed that. Did not see that
He
pop
is.
up.
I don't see that. Where is that, buddy? Jets, John Beck. Let me see.
Anthony, thank you so much. Chris Bradigan earlier said, we're going to the playoffs with Mike White. Deal with it and enjoy everything that comes with the ride. Either jet up or shut up. Have faith. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Right, Anthony? That's what I'm saying. Like, can we enjoy this? Like, but the guy I wanted isn't there. It's like, so what? We're winning, dude. We have a competitive team. We lost by an inch, to a 9-2 team, man. It's like, I don't know. Can we be happy, Jets fans? Can we just get along?
Pump Up the Champ says people need to realize problems Zach Wilson has are not fixable in a few weeks. He has poor muscle memory mechanics and can't even shift, slide in the pocket. That's quarterback 101 stuff. Plus, he definitely lost the locker room. Yeah, I think if you deactivate him for the year and you kind of let him hit the reset button for next year, I think that definitely makes things a little bit easier. I don't know if he's going to get the locker room's trust back this late in the season. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely am less confident in like Zach Wilson's future than I am Mike White's future, which is really depressing but exciting at the same time. Green Bean, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, look, I'm definitely not someone who knows exactly what it takes to fix these issues that he has. What I will say is that he looks lost. You know what I mean? Like frazzled, like, even not like his footwork seems like confused, like it just, and obviously in the face of pressure, he seems like he's been negatively affected by whatever it is, overcomplication, the last year getting hit so much, the knee injuries. I don't know what it is, but he looks lost. So I also sit on the side, what he says first with pump up the champ. He said that these problems aren't going to be fixed in a couple weeks. That's kind of where I am. Now, if the Jets feel differently, fine. But I'm one who thinks that they're just playing this week-to-week thing, keeping their options open, which is smart. But I have a sneaking suspicion, Ryan, that they already know. Like, Zach, we need to work with this kid for a while. He's not done. We're not through with him. But, the idea of him coming back after Buffalo, that's what I think. But I don't know. Maybe.
I love it. Let's see. We got Mumtaz. I'm going to throw you up here real quick. Jump in the line here says, I am perplexed by the amount of energy spent on discussing Mike White versus Zach Wilson. This is not a debate. It's like it's like comparing Cindy Crawford and Rosie O'Donnell. Please see membership chats. Your membership chat was coming up, Mumtaz. It was right there.
Yeah,
there were two more super chats before you, so I'll definitely get to your other one. Don't you worry. All right. How about them Jets? Says, if Mike White completes the last third down when he started running, then threw the ball short to Elijah Moore, killed it for me, we could have gotten another 4 attempts. Yeah, I really thought that he was going to take off and run right there. Did you think that, Green Bean, when you saw the grass out in front of him?
Yep. I thought he was going to run too. Yeah. That's what I thought. How about them Jets? I agree.
Tampa Pete says, I like what I see from Mike White and want to stick with him, but can we run some Wildcat with Strevler, a.k.a. Brad Smith? Yeah, wouldn't you kind of like to see him get involved a little bit? Like, that would be fun. That's a fun team. Maybe. That's like something you do when you're a bad team and you're just trying to get people interested. But, like, I do kind of want to see that sort of fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, but who do we take off the roster?
We're playing Madden. It is what it is. Are you taking Bam Knight off the yeah, like who's coming off, right? I don't know.
Hey, well, here's the thing. Like, honest to God, I like the idea of Strevler too, and I'll admit to you guys, the reason that I know so well about like every year the Jets fans fall in love with the backup quarterback, the reason I know that is because I'm one of them. All right, I do that every year since I'm 12. I mean, it's funny. The first time I remember that happening, right, was when my father, who's a Giants fan, I was young, dude, and they had Phil Simms, and they had a kid behind him named Jeff Rutledge. Maybe you old heads will remember that. There was a significant portion of Giants fans that thought Jeff Rutledge should be playing. He's actually the best quarterback on the team. And he got his shot at some point. He looked like shit. You want to know why? Because he's a backup quarterback. And Phil Simms is Phil Simms, Even Jeff Hostetler was a pretty good backup. But so like back then it was Pat Ryan. So we saw Pat Ryan come in for Kenny O'Brien, and he was our longtime backup, like a decade, man. And there was a lot of Jets fans that said, dude, just play him. He's not as good, but he's consistent. And he would play a couple nice games, but then he would show why he's a backup, And then there's Troy Taylor, and there's Jack Trudeau, or not Jack. Maybe it was Jack. I mean, the list goes on. I was really into Brett Ratliff, guys. I was pissed when the Jets traded, to move up for Mark Sanchez and Brett Ratliff was on the list to Mangini. I was pissed. I have to admit, I was like, no, see, Mangini wanted him in the trade because he knows he's the next big thing. Dude, he's never done a single thing in the NFL. You know what I mean? So, like, that's the thing. So I'm excited. Like, I'm with you. I'd love to see Strevler. And like you said, Ryan, that's a fun way to do it in these cool little packages and stuff. But, I mean, who do we take off the roster for him? Who? I don't know. And is it worth it? And then he comes in and he fumbles the ball and he's scared because of the big, starters. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know.
Mumtaz, with one of his member super chats, says LaFleur cost the game against the Bucs last year as well due to garbage short yardage call. Warner has a detailed analysis of Jets and have at the time. Warner has done detailed analysis of the Jets and have at the time been confused as to what the Jets offense was trying to do. Yeah, I wonder how, are guys that are really good at breaking down film able to break down what was supposed to happen in a LaFleur play? I guess it's an interesting way to do it. Like, I don't know if like Warner not being in the quarterback room, like if he's not going to have 100% of what's going on. And I guess it could just be user error too. Like the wide receiver could just run the wrong route and we're never going to know the difference unless someone says something.
Yeah.
Jets Chaos says Mike White is the better quarterback right now. Clearly. Completely agree, Jeremy.
Who's Jets Chaos? That sounds like a loser.
Yeah.
I don't like him.
Jerk.
Well,
Love you, Jeremy.
Let me say this. Though. For him to say that, Ryan, Jeremy is a number 2 wearing guy. He was 100% Zach Wilson. He was one of the people, no matter what Zach did, he made excuses. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, we're all behind him, but Jeremy was one of those guys. He was on that team. And I think it was the Patriot game. He said, I literally the only way I can defend this is like being emotional. Like if I'm really honest, like there's no way to defend this stuff. This is an NFL quarterback, dude. He cannot complete a pass. You know what I mean?
John comes in.
Yeah. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. John, jumping ahead of the line here, says, hey, we're in the thick of it. I'm indifferent on the quarterback as they need to just get the ball to the playmaker's hands. Defense going to have to play big for us to even have a chance. I'm taking the 9 points and for a Jets win. So, yeah, I mean, you look at this team and you look at the playmakers we have, and all Mike White's doing is he's executing the offense. He's getting the ball into the playmaker's hands. Like, it feels so different. And, like, I feel like if you were able to see Zach do that, the athletic upside would just be through the roof. But, yeah, just execute. Let your best players get the ball in their hands more frequently. Be a distributor, a point guard, if you will.
Yeah,
right, Creepy?
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's the honest truth, man. And that's what we said about Zach. Like, Zach has, and how many times have we used the term, the phrase hero ball, right? Like Zach, he's looking downfield. There's an open Michael Carter right in front of him, or dare I say Tyler Conklin, that fucking guy. Well, I don't know what his problem was, but so there's somebody, and we can see it on the TV, and he's just he wants to throw it downfield, and it's like. All we need in this offense, we have so much talent, whether it's Bam Knight, whether it's Garrett Wilson, even Elijah Moore, who's kind of, I got a bone to pick with Elijah Moore, but it's like, I mean, you can't deny the guy's crazy talented. Whoever these guys are, they're someone open almost every single play. And all we need is the quarterback just to get one of those guys the ball. Now, I think Mike White in the first half was taking the check down too early. He was just immediately going to the check down, and I don't think you want to swing all the way to that end either. But I think, the idea that the level of talent we had, that these guys can make plays, once the ball's in their hand is kind of new to us. We haven't seen this with any consistency for a long time. But that said, I also have to say Mike White was really laying some in there, man. There were some tight windows. He did it last week too. So like sometimes you're like, is it like kind of like a lucky? I don't know. He's doing it now. Like he's kind of doing it consistently. Now maybe Buffalo, those windows, you don't want to take them like that. I don't know. But in addition to just getting the guys the ball, he's also able to kind of lay it in there nicely too.
Yeah, I would say the level of difficulty between the Bears and the Vikings defenses and secondaries is vastly different from the Bills. I think it's it'll be interesting all the way around. Where did I see this? Nicholas George the King says Beck visited with the Jets and Zach. So that's what we were talking about earlier with Beck. 𝐎'𝐿_Vin dropped in with a member super chat, said Zach Wilson has a higher ceiling, but Mike White wins for us now. Completely agree.
Well said.
New York, right? Jets NY 102 says the thing that gets overlooked is the fact that Zach needs Beck last year and again now. Locker room sees the special treatment. It's interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way.
I don't know if it's special treatment, but they definitely see that he needs extra help. That's not a good look. I mean, I don't think anybody on a team would be concerned with someone staying late to work on their, with an extra coach. I don't think that is it. I mean, you think they're like, well, why don't I have a special coach? Or, I don't think that that's going on at all. Like the wide receivers are fine with Miles Austin. The offensive linemen are working well with John Benton. The defensive backs love Tony Oden. So I don't know if I'd call it special treatment, but I do think that they might be like, how many coaches does this kid need in order to
maybe
be
it's the completely agree. RJ McPott jumping in front says Anthony Richardson in the second, a big-bodied quarterback that is a good scrambler in the red zone. Lamar, Colin Kaepernick, Cam Newton would do wonders for this team, especially against the Bills and the Pats. Yeah, I would say Richardson is the high upside prospect that I'd be kind of keeping my eye on. Like if we're picking late second round, I would hope the third round is where we start to look for quarterback. If he's there in the third, I pull the trigger. I think the second round's a little too rich for me right now.
Yeah, especially when have you taken a look at our picks?
Like I haven't. No.
Yeah, it's funny. We did. Look, and don't take this the wrong way, everybody. But every week in after the game, the Beanbaggers and we go into a private little Zoom room and we commiserate or celebrate whatever it might be. And we were chatting, right after the game, and we just decided like, hey, you want to do a quick mock just because let's see how we did. Compared to next year, because I'll admit I haven't studied anybody yet, which is really refreshing. By this time, I'm usually somewhat of an expert, at least on a couple positions. I don't know anybody as far as who I really like, and so we did a little mock. And when we went into the mock just to see our picks, like what picks we have, dude, we're so used to having like 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 3 thirds, all this. Dude, we have like first, a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. That's it. You know what I mean? It's like it's crazy looking. Like 5 picks. That's all we got. I'm wasting using a second on a quarterback this year. Like you said, I think it's a bit much when you only got 5.
Yeah, Richardson's exciting though. He's one of those guys that's like a Josh Allen-esque type quarterback, needs some work, so allows you time to work on Zach Wilson, allows you time to experiment with Mike White. And then you have this like high upside guy that's just sort of sitting there learning the offense. There's no pressure on him. I would like that. Mumtaz says, what are coaches and players telling us when Salah moved Mike White to number 2 out of the blue? We didn't pay attention, but they must have seen something in practice. Now all players running around with Mike White shirts on. Yeah, no, 100%. I think that was the shift. That was the defense going to the coach at that point, I think, and saying, hey, the tides are shifting. The guy we're playing against consistently, like, we like this guy. He's making some throws. Like, I think that's what happened. And that was the shift going from, third string to second string. I think that was almost the trigger for Wilson too. I don't remember when that elevation happened, because I'd love to know, like, when the mindset was like, okay, this is Zach's, shorter leash now. And was it always going to be, hey, we're going to pull him from Mike White at some point, or was the bad play against the Patriots the final nail in the coffin?
Well, when it was, I feel pretty confident. I might be wrong, but remember right before the first time we played the Patriots, they elevated Strebler from practice squad to the 53, and then they made him inactive. They also, the way I remember it is they also switched Flacco for White as the number 2 quarterback. So there's a lot of weirdness going on. And that's why in that first game, when it was like, it was a game, that first game with the Patriots, and Zach just kept throwing picks and he was looking off and everything. Mike White, they had Mike White standing on the sideline with his helmet on. Like, he wasn't just holding a clipboard. He had his helmet on. I was convinced that they were going to throw him in there. Like, all right, man, all we need is one drive. And Zach's struggling. So, and then the second time we played the Patriots, I thought they would too. But that's when they did it. And I agree with you. They probably saw more upside with Mike White in the event he has to come in than Flacco. But I wish that they put Mike White in for either one of those games. I think we would have won it. That's honestly how I feel. And it's a shame. But they definitely saw something, man, mid-season here.
Love it. Adam S. says, Zach is the 2023 future, but I also like Mike White. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how this all shakes out here. Kevin, thank you so much for the super chat. I don't see any comment attached to it. Pump Up the Champ says, Mike White is not a franchise quarterback yet. He reminds me of a young Brady before he learned how to pre-snap read. Now imagine Mike White learns how to pre-snap read. Boom. Yeah, look, I don't want to compare him to the GOAT, but I think when you look at Mike White and you see the way he's able to process the field of vision and how fast he can do it and get the ball into his playmaker's hands in space, the yak is incredible. That's really where I see the difference in this Jets offense and how explosive it could be with just reasonable quarterback play. Yeah, I mean, if he can learn how to manipulate things pre-snap, watch out.
Yeah. I think there's a lot there. I mean, I think he can learn a lot still. I mean, he's certainly not, like you said, he's a franchise quarterback. I mean, I wouldn't call him that either. But we just saw his 5th ever start in the NFL. So,
and 3 of them were 300-yard games.
Think about that.
Over 300.
And one was a 4-banger. You know what I mean? It's like, well, and the other one, he got hurt. He came out and threw for 100 yards or whatever it was. And
95 yards and a touchdown. He was on pace for 400 yards that game.
It's crazy. That's the thing, man. Like, look, we can defend one side or the other all day long, but the reality is the guy comes in and the offense moves. And you can say whatever you want as to why, but that's what happens. And I'd rather see the offense move than make a million excuses and hope that we can get one damn touchdown in. You know what I mean?
Kev Tag says, a Jets Talk 24/7 membership is greater than a gym membership. Cheers, cheers. Hear, hear. Thank you. Much approval.
Hey. Cheers, cheers. You're here. Hey, hey.
Spend it here. You may not look good by the time you're done hanging out, but you'll enjoy having hung out. Jack S. comes in and says, what is your breaking point for Mike LaFleur? Do we look for someone else to call plays, Middleton or whoever called offensive plays for us in the Senior Bowl? Sorry, not. Yeah, did I say Mike LaFleur? I don't know if I said Mike White or Mike LaFleur, but Mike LaFleur is what's my breaking point for Mike LaFleur. Yeah. I'm going through probably at least halfway through next year. At the least. Like, I think he's going to go through all of next year, too. Like, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think we have a bigger fear of him getting poached. Like, I don't think he's the problem. You look at the situations we were in and the drops we had. Conklin had a horrible game. If Conklin plays half as well as I thought he was going to play, I think the Jets win that game. I feel like we were in position to win the game. Like, you had the 4th down play to Berrios. It was there. We had the touchdown. The one play that really sort of stands out to me that gets me irked was the 3rd down play on the goal line where it was like a fade and Garrett Wilson was nowhere there. And it was like, man, that was just a throwaway. We didn't even give it a shot. Just it sucked. But I don't know if that was necessarily a bad play. Garrett Wilson slipped. So I guess my breaking point is probably, unless we look completely awful on offense, there's no way I'm giving up on Mike LaFleur. Green Bean, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we have to remember again is that we have guys that are new. I mean, they're young, they're new, they're working with different players. Like, I think if you just look, it's like with Joe Douglas, right? People are like, oh my God, if Zach doesn't work out, or like when he had 6 wins in 2 years. And it's like, well, dude, you have to look at the overall, like what's really happening, what's working, what's he trying to accomplish and all that. In a similar way, I look at LaFleur and I say, the offense is working. Like, even this game, like, yes, I had serious bones to pick with what he chose to do. And like, look, I reached out to, I dropped one name earlier, but I reached out to a few others and that I have the, I have little access to. And two told me that they were upset with LaFleur, that they were doing that. And the other one said, they literally said like, hey dude, fucking drop the touchdown. Like, what Mike did worked. Like, you could say whatever you want, but we were there and it worked. It was a dropped touchdown or, whatever else. So like, that's the thing. It's like, what do I need to see for, to move on from Mike LaFleur? I think a whole lot, man. Like, they like him, and I think rightfully so. Again, my issue is more with development with players, particularly quarterback. But I think no matter what issues I have with LaFleur, one play to the next, overall, like, there's usually a guy open. And we have to, like, you got to pay attention to that. Whether or not the quarterback can find him and hit him is another story. We're on fifth tackle, third guard, like, all those kinds of things do apply. But most plays, there's an outlet. Like, he's designed the play in such a way that someone's there. If we had a quarterback, like, let's say we did have a Peyton Manning who could just scan the field instantly, dude, we'd be shredding people with LaFleur. So I think all this stuff, when you look at it all together, I think he's got a pretty long leash, man. That's what I think, Jack.
I have a poll going in the live chat right now. Does Zach start another game this year? 78% of our just under 600 votes say no. 80% of the fan base almost.
Hey, by the way, you guys got to get some likes in here, man. We got 564 people in here. And we only have 198 likes, and I'm dying to put names in so I can get T-shirt qualifiers, and I'm like stuck. I haven't added a name in like an hour. So Come on, man. Let's hit that like button so I can get you guys into the mix to win a T-shirt tonight.
That's right. For every 25 likes we get on this video, we pick a qualifier for our T-shirt giveaway at the end of the stream. So make sure you hang around with us and see if you qualify and potentially win. Let's see, where was I going next with this one? Jets fan forever says, take Nathan Shepard out for Strevler. That's where you find his roster spot, I guess.
Oh, right. Okay.
Hexen says, $2 for a timeout for Jets Forever Fund. Yeah, should we have like a little like pot of gold, and like when we hit a certain threshold, it's like, all right, ban. For like, you get the 300-second timeout.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's funny. I just wrote Jets Forever. I think he's being ridiculous tonight. But I mean, he's always ridiculous in one fashion or another. And he believes what he believes. But I think he's one of the, Jets Forever right now is like at the forefront of the ridiculous defense of Zach Wilson. Like, it's just, look, we all want Zach to succeed. We all wish that he, was able to, but let's just be real, dude. He threw for 77 yards. He was lost. Mike White came in, threw for 315 and 369. You could say what you want about the 60 passes. The last time Zach had 55 passes in the page, he threw 3 picks in addition to it. Killers, by the way. So it's like, it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of nuts. And guys, I can't just pick people, Kelly and who was it? Somebody else said it too. But I can't just pick people. That's random. I have to do it the right way. We got to get 25 likes, and then I let the computer do it. That's how it is. I can't cheat, everybody.
Thomas Cahill comes in, says, what's your take on Fant's performance minus block in the back? Yeah, like that penalty really pissed me off because it was such a blatant penalty, but I'm also mad at Berrios for not cutting it back inside because I think he gets more yardage, potentially a touchdown. And for us to not score there just like sort of compounded that whole situation. But I liked what we got out of Fant. You saw him. They pulled Mitchell the final drive in the second quarter. And yeah, I mean, I was surprised how well Fant was playing. It looks like he's healthier. Like maybe earlier in the season he was playing through an injury and now is finally healthy for the first time. What was your thoughts on Fant?
Yeah, I'll second what you said. And I liked what Salah said too. They asked him like, so what happened? Why did you bench Mitchell for Fant? And he said, well, he was struggling. That's it.
Yeah.
He was struggling and we had George ready to go. So I think what we saw, as much as I like Mitchell and believe in him and think he's done a really good job, I think we know that he wasn't supposed to start this year, right? So he can still add a lot of strength. There's a lot that he can do developmentally. We already know that he's got the chops. But what we saw in this game when Fant came in was we saw a guy who's a starter. There was a difference. Now, that one play, Supposedly Berrios ran the wrong way. I didn't really think Mike White threw the best pass, and I thought the play call was stupid to begin with. But shit happens. You know what I mean? Like everybody makes mistakes and all that kind of stuff. But outside of that play, I think when Fant came in is when the offense started to settle down. It turns out, Ryan, right tackle is important.
Yeah, right. Tackle's going to be an interesting conversation this offseason for sure.
Yeah,
Thomas Cahill, again, comes in and says, it's not about Zach's development, but the rest of the young guys. Yeah, I think you owe it to the other 52 guys on the roster to play the best quarterback on the team, especially in the midst of a playoff hunt. If Robert Saleh wants to come out and say, hey, we're riding Mike White, until we're mathematically eliminated, and then we'll make a decision from there. We're either going to continue to ride Mike White if we think there's development that could be had there, or if we think, hey, we're fizzling out, we're no longer in contention. Now we'll just go back to trying to develop Zach. I think you got to play the best guy. Green Bean, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, I think when you're being a pragmatist here, you have guys all over the field that are talented and want to play and can contribute. And when you have one guy that's struggling, you cannot, and I think they did it long enough, man. Like, you cannot have the entire team suffer. And even just guys that are going to be in a contract year or want to win Rookie of the Year, whatever it might be, like, there's all those little narratives going on as well, in addition to it. Like, they want to contribute and they want to play and they believe that, and they're frustrated. So we're kind of losing the team. Like the last start with Zach, you saw it, man. Numerous people were frustrated visibly with it. Like they'd had enough. And you did it before. You look at just Garrett Wilson alone, outside of the one game, he's had his worst stretch was with Zach. Now you can give Zach a little bit of time. He didn't have the preseason. He was out the first year. Sure, fold all that in. Mm-hmm. Still, he had really good games with Flacco. He had a serious dip outside of one game with Zach, and now he's having record-breaking numbers with Mike White. Like, can we just look at that? And that's not even it. It's all over the place. So I think, it's not about Zach's development when the team is suffering. It's about his development this year, no doubt. But you can't hold the entire team back for one guy. You're going to lose everybody. You'll lose the whole damn roster.
Completely agree here with Thomas. Even Keel, you're going to hop the line here, says 60 pass attempts when you're averaging 5 yards per carry is way too much. I appreciate Wilson's incompetence, but it rained that stuff. In. Yeah, look, I think White thrown for 60 times usually means we're not in a winning situation. I think because you fell behind so much in the first half, they felt they needed to try and conserve some time and try to make up some of that ground. And yeah, I don't know. I don't want to see 60 pass attempts from Mike White. I didn't feel like it was totally egregious. I think we mentioned it at halftime too, where it's like, man, we're throwing a little more than I'd like to see us throw. I don't know. What were your thoughts on the run pass selection? Like 60 throws. That's a lot.
Sorry. Yeah, that was one of the gripes I had. Like, dude, we have a good running game. It's working. Why are we abandoning it? Now, I get it. Like I understood why. And initially, we're down 23-3, whatever the hell it was. We gotta catch up a little bit. But you had a whole half of football, and we want to keep their offense off the field as best we can. And I thought Bam Knight looked fantastic. I thought we should have used James Robinson more. I think he got 4 carries. And it's, again, like running backs in particular, it's real hard to get anything going when you run them 3 or 4 times. It just doesn't work. So I thought we could have did a little bit better job of doing that. I'm totally fine, obviously, with Bam getting the lion's share, but I thought we should have run the ball more too. I mean, he had a 6-yard average, so we have to remember he had a 48-yard run in there, so that does skew the numbers a little bit, obviously. So we got to remember that it's not really 6 yards a carry. At the same time, I think he was effective, and we could have used him more. I'll tell you what, Ryan, I would have run him at the damn goal line. I would have been. Yeah. How about that's where to use Robinson? That's what he does.
Yeah, he could be a punishing back. They're definitely not using him because they're trying to save that draft pick. That's 100% that. If he was like really tearing it up, they wouldn't have cared. But I think because he didn't look good initially and Bam looks so good, like it's almost like hey, since Bam looks so good and Ty Johnson has kind of been the backup for a bunch of the season anyway, and we'll get Carter back, then we don't need to use this, lose this other draft pick. Yeah. John comes in, says, fans forgetting Mike LaFleur is the best offensive coordinator the Jets have had in a decade. Yeah, I don't want to see him go anywhere. I'd be disappointed. NY to Florida says, am I crazy? We had a half yard. Could we have used Clemens, Williams, Huff in the backfield? Flashbacks to William the Refrigerator. Look, just put in Sheldon Richardson. Let him run. Put in the most angry mother trucker you could put in. I think Clemens was hurt at that point, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, dude, Quinnen Williams would have got us 4 touchdowns right there.
Yeah, just put them in and just you get your best players on the field, right? Make some magic happen. Backyard football, get the ball in, no questions asked. Ball doesn't hit the ground. Or play doesn't stop.
We should have ran it, dude. I don't care. We were on the 1-inch line and you don't run it once. What is that? What is it? What do you call it?
I don't know. I don't have the answers.
Call that a mistake, man. I call it.
Kevin says, is TB12 the answer for a 2023 title run?
How dare you?
I hope not. I hope not. I think it's a realistic possibility. He looks washed. I feel like he still has some magic there, and I think he's good enough where we could win with him. But I don't know if he's so much an improvement over Mike White at this particular point that I want to sell my soul to try and win it with Brady. I don't want to win it that way. That feels like it's guaranteed to give us another 50-year drought. Right? That seems like taboo. To win one with Tom Brady.
Yeah. Right. I'll tell, like I've said before, though, man, and we joked about this a few weeks ago. It would be the last thing that Tom Brady could do to improve his standing as the greatest. He wins another one with Tampa Bay, big whoop. You know what I mean? At this point, nothing is going to improve it. Now, if he went to the Jets and tore through the AFC East on the way to to a Super Bowl championship, that would do something. That said, I don't want it. I don't want this guy.
I love it. Guy, Brian comes in and says, the team wore Zach shirts for what he did off the field. We're wearing Mike White shirts for what he's done on the field. Yeah, everyone's got the MILF shirts on. Actually, I'm repping a little Man, I Love Football action currently right now. You're wearing shirts for what Zach didn't do. You got the Wall Street Wilson. You got the Wilson to Wilson. You got all this stuff, but now Mike White's actually doing things, and guys are wearing their shirts and they say Mike effing White because this guy's an effing quarterback. There's a difference. We're not the same.
Yeah. Hey, let me just say this. Balls be hurting said he's convinced that Namath sold us to the devil, right? So let me I just want to say this once. So what we're saying with that, we really believe that Joe Douglas sat down at a table with the devil and signed a piece of paper that said, you can win, you'll have a great life, but for some reason this franchise and all of its fans and any kid that's born in 40 years and puts on a Jets hat, they're all going to suffer? Why? Is that what we believe?
Hit the button that kills someone in the world, but you get $1,000. How many times you hitting it before you it's a weird mental game, right?
Yeah, it's weird. Do we really believe that Namath sat down and they pulled up a chair, they had a glass of wine, they ate some chicken cordon bleu, and he signed his soul over to the devil? Is that what
he spited him? Namath didn't invite the devil to his birthday party. How many players were at his birthday party? That's what it was. He got spited.
Hey, did you see that guy? There's a guy on Instagram. He does funny little Instagram things he pretends to be different people in the football world, and he does the devil talking to God in football. Have you seen that guy? He's bald. He's got a little goatee or something. It's funny. Did you see it?
No.
And he talked about the devil. He said like God was asking the devil, like, he kind of let go of some things, and he said the curse on Namath, and he said never. Like the devil's like, nope.
Nope. Sorry, can't do it. Can't do it.
If anybody has that guy's link, I can't remember his name. You throw it in the chat for me so I can actually like him or whatever. But yeah, it's funny. It's good. Anyway,
JETSFAN says, if at the end of the season White has over a 60% completion percentage, more touchdowns than picks, and we make the playoffs, then White is the guy next year. Yeah, I think he's going to do much more than that. I think he's definitely going to have more touchdowns than interceptions. I think he's definitely going to have over 60% completion. I mean, there's just so many drops. I don't know where the Jets fall in terms of like drop passes, but it's got to be near the top of the list. I know we were number 2 at one point behind Tampa Bay, but I think that was like halfway through the season, so I don't exactly know where we're at right now. But yeah, you think White's the guy if we see this completion percentage at 60%, has more touchdowns than picks, and we make the playoffs? Is he the guy to start next year?
60%, like, all right. So if at the end of the year he has, for his starts, an over 60% completion percentage, more touchdowns than picks, and we make the playoffs, I think it's got to be a conversation for sure. Now, whether or not they feel like he's already hit his ceiling, like that's it, then no. If they feel like we're just beginning, like this guy can be more than this, or at minimum, like this is kind of his floor, sure. Why not, man? Efficiency, like you don't always need a quarterback to be, among the elites. Like you can have, if you have, elite talent all over the place, a really solid defense, great running game, and you have a quarterback that's efficient, that's another way to go about it, man. I wouldn't have a problem. But I don't know if that's enough though, Ryan.
Thomas Cahill says, what about Aaron Rodgers? There would have to be some insane cap manipulation or restructuring of Rodgers' deal to facilitate that trade, because I'm pretty sure if he gets traded, the Packers eat like $75 million in dead cap. It's some sort of astronomical number that seems incredibly prohibitive of anything getting done. That being said, if you wanted to groom Zach Wilson, having his mentor here, who's clearly, an all-time great at the quarterback position, who's having a down year with a bad team, as his mentor for a season when he's clearly going to hang it up in a year or two, or if the Jets were to win a Super Bowl with Rodgers, I think he hangs it up and then, it's Zach's team again. I could see the value in that. I just don't know what you'd have to do contract-wise to make that happen. And what would you be willing to give up to make it happen?
Right.
Like, would it be a lot because it would have to be Rodgers saying, oh, no, I'm going to restructure, which allows them to get out of his contract? Because he can really hamstring the whole deal. So maybe it's cheaper than I'm giving it credit for. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, right. Like, you're already going to get a guy who looks like he's washed, number one. I mean, he's disinterested or whatever it is. But he don't look like Aaron Rodgers, right? Can we just say that? Not at all. So you're already taking a risk that the guy might be washed. Now, Green Bay might be really motivated to get out of that. So maybe they help, but you got to be looking at like, we don't give any picks. We give you like a third, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Rodgers' contract is really not bad at all. I think it's like $1 million if he's traded, like for us, because he had such a massive signing bonus that if he's cut or traded by the Packers, it would annihilate their cap because it all accelerates to next year. So,
right?
But the team that takes him on really has no financial burden like at all.
Really? Okay, let's take a look. Now, can you open over the cap? Just explain this to me.
Yeah.
If you don't mind. I'm sincerely curious because that changes things. It's like,
it does.
You got to take a risk that he's washed. But the whole thing that was mentioned about, like, he is Zach's role model and they have a nice relationship. And maybe you start Aaron Rodgers for a year or 2 years and then Zach's ready to go. That's kind of a nice little wrinkle. It's a nice turn. But the contract,
let's see if I can share the screen. Get the Chrome window. Bam. Okay. So we are currently looking. Oh, sorry, Matt. You're not here right now.
2024
Bam,
dead
gone.
cap of holy shit. 2023 dead cap of 99 million.
Dude, so that's what I'm saying. Check this out. So this column right here. Do you see you don't see my mouse. So if you look at the column prorated bonus, it's like the third column in.
Can you expand a little bit, Ryan? Can you like expand it a little bit? Make it a little bit bigger.
Let's see. Can I?
Like a little expansion thing? Yeah.
I could do that. Yeah. We'll go in like that. Why not?
All right. I'm going to pick my nose.
Actually, you know what? No, hold on.
I got to stop picking my nose in.
I can do something better. I can go over here. I can go a little bigger. All right. So when you're looking at the contract, 2022, the prorated bonus, it's like the third or fourth column over from the left, you see $125 million. That is all his signing bonus, and that's the signing bonus getting spread out across all those seasons. If he is cut or traded, those numbers accelerate to the year that he's cut. If he's a June 1st cut, then it would accelerate to that year and then the year after. So it's split in two. So in theory, what they could do is they could wait till June 1st, trade him, and then have the cap hit their 2023 and 2024 cap instead of all hitting 2023. But it's still $75 million in dead cap across 2 years. Like it's an insanely high number. So that's what's so cost prohibitive. But if you have him under contract, like let's say he does get traded, the Jets or whatever team trading for him, that base salary, that first column, like after his age, that's the cap hits that you would get plus your workout bonuses. And I guess maybe whatever the other bonuses is, it depends what that's tied to, like that
50 grand,
that sixth column, seventh column over. But you're talking $1 million, $2 million for 2 years, or it's probably $1 million and like $16 million, $17 million for 2024. But yeah, the cap hits really are not bad for Rodgers. It's just, is he washed? And like, do you actually want him?
Right. Well, I think the fact that they have to eat that much money, which I didn't know, I haven't looked at it yet at all, but I just assumed you would have to take on a massive contract. But they're definitely going to need some serious draft capital then. And they, you know what they'd probably have to do, sit down with him and say, hey, look, we're going to let you go. Here's your options, but we can't have this. Can we restructure? We'll give you X amount of dollars for this year. They would have to do something like that with him. And he would have to be agreeable to doing something like that. Cause dude, no team can absorb that kind of a hit. No team.
No, it's insane. That is a monster cap hit. It would absolutely annihilate. Let's see if I can actually go over. We'll go over to their like cap situation and see what it would actually do to them.
That's the Niners.
Oops. Yeah. Wow. 2023.
Really something.
So right now they have $7 million in 2022. So they're sitting at like $10 million in salary cap space. Aaron Rodgers, if he were just outright cut, would change that number. Look how that changes. Goes from 10 million across 2 years, 2022 and 2023. You would add them together because it rolls over. 64 million.
How did you do that? What are you doing?
That would just be cutting Aaron Rodgers. There's like this submit button under transactions. If you were to cut him pre-June 1st, it would annihilate their cap for next year. If you were to change that, and let's say, because you don't want to cut him, you want to try and get something for him.
Yeah,
is
doubt.
The thought process. But either way, the cap number would work out the same. Let's say you trade him post June 1st. Now you're looking up here at 2022, 2023. You see $7 million and $3 million. Now, if you trade him post June 1st and you hit submit, now it's not as bad. Now you're talking $4 million for 2023 instead of negative 65, but then your 2024 cap gets whacked as well. So you spread that cap hit over 2 years if you do it after June 1st. It's an interesting situation.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing. I mean, like, is Aaron Rodgers just not Aaron Rodgers because he doesn't, he doesn't really have the tools, and he's not gonna sacrifice everything anymore. He's just, for a team that he doesn't think is good enough. Like when he said, "Hey, I'm old, I'm hurting, and I'm surrounded by children." You know what I mean? Like You know, that kind of attitude. Like if he came to a team with Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Breece Hall, like, is he going to be motivated to be Aaron Rodgers? That's the question, because there's a very real possibility that he's toast.
Yeah, for sure. Clay Wavy comes and says, Mike the Dyke White. That's not very nice. Who's up next? Max.
How many times Nightbot picks the same people? Like there's almost 600 people in here. It picks the same 4 people like 5 times.
Max says says competition for running back 1 next year. Knight versus Breece and Michael Carter. No, I think Breece is still running back 1, but that doesn't mean you can't rotate through all 3 of them. Keep all their legs fresh. Hopefully maybe kind of keep their cost down a little bit too. Like they don't have to cost us an arm and a leg. But the ideal would be to try and win a Super Bowl with some explosive backs that you can rely on, and rotating them in or just feeding the hot hand is totally fine. I don't know if I need a running back 1, even though I know it's going to be Breece. Greenbean, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a competition for running back 1. You know what I think would be optimal is that if they think one guy's running style is going to be more effective in this game, he takes a little bit of the lead, you know, and then the other guy, you know. But I mean, having Michael Carter, Breece, and Bam is a fantastic collection of cheap running backs. You know, you got these guys. Michael Carter will be going into his 3rd year, but you know, you still got him for 2 years. You got Breece Hall for 3, and you got Bam. I'm not sure what his contract looks like, but you got him probably as much as
probably a 3 or 4 year deal.
Yeah, did they sign him for a 3-year deal? Did they just give him the 1?
I would bet it's probably a 3-year. Let's see. Let's take a look. Let's do a little.
He's the kind of guy. Yeah, right. This is good, man. Dig into some contracts.
We've got the internet. We've got
internet. Is good. You know, I watched a movie the other day where this girl, it was only from like, I don't know, a few years back, but she went.
2-year deal. We've got him under contract for next year for just under $1 million.
Yeah. What I was going to say, though, a girl went to the library and got a bunch of encyclopedias and shit. She was like studying all night, and I was like, oh, yeah, remember that?
Mm-hmm.
You needed information. You had to go to a library and get it.
Yeah. It's wild.
Not anymore. Everybody's a genius now. All right.
One thing of note, so because we have him under contract for 2 years, he can't hit free agency because he hasn't accrued 3 years. So he would be an exclusive rights free agent after next year. So we would kind of control him for relatively cheap for 2024 as well. So we basically have him for the next 2.5 years.
Gotcha.
So that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Sam 𝐒𝐿 words says no Jet player has ever said what Zach said. He should sit and earn his stripes. I think he should. I think you're absolutely right. Clay Wavy in the chat says, if we beat/don't beat Buffalo, what does that say about us? If we beat Buffalo, we're for real. I think we've already proven it by beating Buffalo once, hanging with the Patriots twice, and clearly lost because of our quarterback, made a switch, hung with the best team or one of the best teams in the NFC, and then if we beat Buffalo, we're a legit team. It feels like there's still a lot of fool's gold about the Jets right now from people. Like no one's buying in yet.
Yeah, I hear you. I do. I think we are a legit team. But again, like we're young, right? We're sloppy. We're starting our 3rd quarterback, the last couple of weeks. Like, it's still like, even like the fact that George Fant is in, even though he was there in the beginning of the season, he was left tackle. Now he's a right tackle. It's like we have so much going on that I think it's kind of understandable that we'll lose games like the Vikings. Again, I think we did more than enough to win that game, and we should have, but we didn't because we're young and sloppy, and the coaches, they don't really know how to nail it shut yet. Everybody's kind of cutting their teeth. So I think I think we're legit, but whether or not we can close them really remains to be seen.
Eric T says, if White wins, he may not sign with the Jets. I would be very surprised if he didn't sign with the Jets, especially if the Jets said, hey, look, we want you back. We think you have your best shot at making a bunch of money here with us, having success with us. Let's sign you to a deal. We'll give you a ton of incentives. Where else is he really going to go? like who else is going to be looking at Mike White and trying to sign him away from the Jets? I don't know if that team's necessarily out there right now. And I think Mike White is going to understand that too. I think he does come back, and I think it's going to be for a reasonable amount, but I don't think it's going to be $20 million. I think it might be like maybe a 2-year, $10 million option, or maybe it's $20 million over 2 years. But next year's like a void year, and you have to restructure him after next year if he shows out again. But you can't franchise tag him, like that kind of a deal.
Yeah. Well, T-Nile Templeman says, what about the Colts? They might want some Mike White action. They might.
Maybe. I mean, like, is there any connection with anyone? I've heard a few people say, not so much the Colts, but just thinking about the Colts, bringing in Frank Reich as our quarterback coach next year because of Joe Douglas's connection from his time in Philadelphia. Might be interesting.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, it all depends on these last few games. But I think I do agree with what you said. Like, I think the Jets and Mike White, I'm not sure he's not going to like come out of this being courted for $30 million a year. I think the Jets and him sit down and go, if they like him, and just say, hey, dude, like, we're going to give you a legitimate shot to start. You're going to compete for the job, and here's 10 mil, kind of a thing. Incentives, that kind of stuff.
Sure. I think he would be in favor of doing that. Let's Talk Rez says, all this infighting just makes me wonder who the hell thought we would consider us to be in the hunt at this point. I had us at 8 and 9. We need to chill. Zach Wilson needs time. Let Mike cook till it burns down. Yeah, no, he's right. It's expectations, preseason versus expectations now. Now that we're, a pretty good team, you don't want to waste it. Like, good defense, while you can bring good players back year over year, good defense is much harder to replicate than like really good offense. And I think you don't want to waste a year like this with the talent we have. I was just thinking there's going to be guys that have opportunities to restructure their contract to try and create some cap space. Guys like C.J. Mosley, Carl Lawson, Corey Davis, although Corey Davis, I don't know if he necessarily comes back either way. But I wonder if we get guys to restructure, create some cap space and say, hey, look, Mike White, we got these guys. They're all buying in. They're taking less money. We're trying to build a team. We want you to be a part of this. Let's do this. I wonder if that plays into it.
It could. I'll tell you what, I don't know if we are there yet. I don't know if we're established enough, as a culture for people to be willing to do that. Look, we saw, what was it, 2 years ago?
I think Mosley's 100% going to restructure. I would be shocked. I think they go to him and they say, let's have you retire a Jet. Let's make this right and keep the cap number low.
Yeah. Let's be real. We cannot keep you at 19 million or whatever the fuck it is,
Yeah.
But we'd love for you to be the centerpiece of our defense till you retire.
Yep.
But we got to pay you $1 million a year. How's that sound?
Yeah, got to drop you. We gave you those buffer years. You got the year off with the injury. You got the year off with the COVID, and now you're like, come on, let's give it back to us on this end of the contract. Mm-hmm. Come on, dude.
Right.
Brian Bogan comes in, says, I'm concerned they keep Ty and Bam gets claimed. Not going to happen. No shot. I would be very surprised if they kept Ty over Bam Knight.
Oh yeah, I don't think so.
They would send Robinson down. If it had to be Carter, it would be Carter, Bam, and then Robinson. Or they would just cut Robinson outright. Because, it's really, they would just deactivate him or whatever. Because they just don't want him to get the yardage at this point. I think Robinson's the one that's kind of the odd man out. What do you think, Green Bean?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I liked what you said earlier about that. It's one thing if he came out and he was looking like he was about to explode. And it's worth it to have the pick go up another round. But if he's just kind of, dinking and dunking, clinking and clunking to the yardage, and why do that, That's the way I see it. I think he's the odd man out in a situation like that, sure.
JMG says, can Joe Douglas sell Zach's 5-2 record to some sucker, team, for a second and third round pick? I don't know if he can do it right now. I think he might have to go through Like, first off, if you were to trade him before the draft this year, it would be a $20 million cap hit instead of just holding on to him and having like a $9 million cap hit. So you don't want to do that before the draft. But after the draft, after June 1st, you could trade him and it wouldn't be so detrimental on your cap that it could make sense. And if you trade him after fluffing his value up in the preseason, after saying, hey, look, he was 5-2 when he got pulled. He got pulled after 2 games against the best head coach of all time in Bill Belichick. He's looked good in the preseason. He needed some time off. He needs a change of scenery. It's clear that he's having this Carson Wentz, Nick Foles-esque moment. Like, I think you can sell someone next year. He has to be on a team next year because then a team gets to see him play for them and then decide on his 5th-year option. And then I think he's valuable. I think that's a tradable asset.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Right?
Yeah,
that was good.
I agree with what you just said. Yeah.
I think I worded that perfectly. All right, Green Bean, do we have all our qualifiers?
We do. I'd like to get one more. If you guys haven't liked the stream, real quick, get it in so I can, every 25, I'm like, what is that? I'm 14 away from another qualifier. So if you guys real quick like the stream and we get a bunch of qualifiers, I can add you to the mix. If not, I'm good. I'm all caught up. Here we go.
Let's see. All right, I'm jumping over to last week's stream. I'm going to give you some names.
Okay.
Let's see. Move this over here so I can actually read stuff. Oh, I had a good one in there last time. Let's see if I can find it again. Meaty clackers.
Hey, hold on. Meaty clackers.
Meaty, MEATY clackers.
That's great. What's a clacker, everybody? Anybody know?
I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. Let's go Patrick Durst.
Patrick Durst.
He's from Switzerland. So I don't know.
URST? Is that how you spell it?
Durst. I don't know. I've already scrolled past. All right. Let's go. Let's go Sam So Knight. SAM-SO-NITE.
Samsonite. Oh, I get it. Hey, man, if you say it fast, man, it comes out. Samsonite. I got it.
Let's do Mike Burner.
I'm sorry, Mike Burner?
Yeah, BERNER.
But the first one was Mike?
Mike.
Got it. All right.
And I think I got one more. So let's do Wallet Butt.
Wallet Butt. All right. Oh, look, I got 2 more over here. Nice. Okay. Hurry up. Get them in. This is the end. This is the end for the qualifiers. If you guys hit the like button, I can get more. All right. Nick Russo, you just snuck in. And I got one more, unless you guys keep going. Oh, look, they're going. This is good. Hold on. All right. We're getting 9 more, and I get another one. Okay, 9 more. Hurry up. Jets gang, you just snuck in. And 7 more. Can we do it? Give it 15 seconds, Ryan. Let's see if we can do it. Hey, did you get the poll answer? Did you do the poll answer yet?
I'm going to change how we do this, too, because we can have a little fun because it's only 2 of us. The poll question. So it's gotten better for Zach right now. As of 730 votes, 77% say that Zach should never start another game this year. It was at 78 earlier. It was at 78 earlier when we were 200 votes earlier, or 150 votes earlier.
I'm 1 like away. Come on. Who are you? There it is.
There it is.
Done. All right. Let's see who it is. Who's last? Who snuck in at the end here?
You.
I win. Hey, I need one of these fucking shirts, Ryan. When am I going to take one?
I got to send you a shirt.
Yeah.
I got to come up with a new shirt. I haven't come up with a new shirt in a little while.
I know. I got a good shirt idea I'm going to put out there soon for you guys for Christmas. I got to do it soon, right? Austin Powers, you are the last qualifier.
All right.
Buddy,
so here's how we're going to do this. Rather than odds or evens, it's going to be rock, paper, scissors, shoot. And if I win, we eliminate the evens. If you win, we eliminate the odds. So I put little names under here. That's why it's evens, odds.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we eliminate the one of the winner.
We got to do it right in front of the camera, though, so we can't cheat.
Yeah.
Right?
You ready? Rock. Oh, so it's going to be rock, paper, scissors, throw.
Got it.
So on the fourth one coming down, you're throwing.
I'm with you, buddy. I got it.
Ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Ah! The evens are gone.
So the evens are gone. My paper covers your rock. All
Way
right.
to go.
Tragic artist, you are out. Jets forever, you are out. Edward Stewart, who won 5 times tonight, you're out. Paris, you're out. Kelly McTavish, you're gone. Nicholas George the King, you are out. Meaty Clackers, sad to say, is gone. Samsonite, you're out. Wallet Butt is gone. Jets Gang, you're gone. All right, we are good.
All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Aha! Cut my paper.
Evens.
You got to do it. You got to do the thing. Yeah, okay. All right. So evens are gone?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Okay. TJ Decker, you're gone. Louis Bethencourt, you are out. Phenom's out. Patrick Durst is gone. And Nick Russo is gone. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left.
All right. 3. Whoops. All right. This is getting confusing. Why don't I just do odds or evens?
No, I'm with you, man. I'm good.
All right. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh, you cover my rock. You got me. So wait, this is evens again, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I did it wrong the first time. That's all right.
It's all right. It's all good. Joe Campione, you're gone. Balls be hurting. You're out.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And Austin Powers is gone. We got 3. We're down to 3.
All right. Chat. First number that pops up plus rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
That's a scissors.
Okay. We'll call that scissors. So odds. So odds plus whatever number came up. A 5, odd and an odd is an even. So eliminate the even person on there. And then I think we got to go again, right?
Yeah. Amber Alert is done. We're down to New York, NYJ278, and Mike Burner. That's where we are.
Okay. So the first number after Eric Craig's number 3, the second one. Plus whatever we get. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Ah, damn it. Odds.
All right. So
plus 21. It's an even.
All right. Mike Burner. Oh, wait. The evens one?
Yeah, because we added 21 to the odd.
There it is. Totally. Okay.
That was a weird way to do that.
Move quick. NYJ278. You are the winner. Wait, let me see here. Let me make sure you're still here. NYJ. Yeah, you're still here. All right, man. NYJ, you win. Make sure you contact Ryan for your free t-shirt.
Hell yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you so much for playing and hanging out with us. Green Bean, we have reached the end of our show. So I want to go over to you. How are you feeling about this upcoming game? Any last thoughts for our panel?
Yeah, I got to be honest. I'm really nervous. I think we can win, right? They don't have Von Miller. We get Fant back. There's some ups and downs on both sides, but we can win. I'm really hoping that we do. I'd hate to lose 2 in a row, man, and make it after the bye 3 out of 4. We lost. That's an ugly way to start the second half. But I feel good. I'm confident. I think we have, it's not it's not a wish. We can win this game, and I think we're gonna. So that's my thing. I will say 27-24 NY Jets. There you go. And I'll tell everybody right after this, in about 25 minutes, we're going to go live on Green Bean Jets Fan for a little after hours Jets Fest. We take it to the wee hours of the night and we talk about all sorts of weird shit, including the Jets. But come on, hang out, Green Bean Jets Fan.
I love it. Boys and girls, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this game. It's going to be a real important one. I'm going to be real disappointed, like Green Bean said, if we wind up dropping 3 of 4 games. Not really going to be sitting well. So, boys and girls, thank you so much. We will see you next week, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.